It is the closest presidential race in the 21st century.
You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
Kamala Harris just embarrassed herself again on The View. And of course, when you have the most incompetent vice president in the history of this country sits down with the worst show on national television, my friend, you are guaranteed a total disaster. The more Kamala talks, the faster people are leaving the Democratic Party. Instead of taking responsibility for her endless failures, from border crisis to skyrocketing inflation, Kamala Harris spent the whole time blaming everyone but herself. She blamed President Biden. She blamed it on racism. She even claimed she lost because she's a woman, even though nobody from the left seems to know what a woman is.
Ultimately, if you have to pin it down to one thing, what was the primary reason, do you think, that you lost?
There are many factors, I think, that played into the outcome of that election. But I think probably one of the biggest in my mind is we just didn't have enough time.
You didn't have enough
time. We didn't have enough time.
Oh, yeah.
There's only one factor why Kamala did not become president. Simply because Kamala was not qualified to be president. And Kamala will never be qualified to be president of this great country. Never. Matter of fact, Kamala was not even qualified to be the vice president. She was chosen because she's a black woman. So now she's talking about, oh, I did not have time. How much more time did you need? You were the vice president, so you had 4 years to show the American people you have what it takes to lead this nation. You had 4 years to make sure the American people know what your policies are. You had 4 years to make sure the American people understand you have the leadership it requires to lead this nation. As the vice president, Kamala Harris had one job, which was to secure the border. And we all know what happened. The border was left unprotected. Over 10 million of illegal migrants poured this country. President Trump is still trying to fix the mess Kamala has created. So for her to be talking about, I don't have time, again, what do you mean? And let's not forget, Kamala Harris was hiding from the American people. She refused to do interviews with Fox News, with CNN. She did an interview with 60 Minutes. They heavily edited that interview for her to not look incompetent. And guess what? She still looked incompetent. So it's not about you did not have time. No, you do not have what it takes to lead this nation. Everybody knows it. You are the most incompetent VP in the history of this country. Again, everybody knows it.
This is unprecedented. Think about this.
Yeah.
That there's a race for president of the United States. The current sitting president is running for re-election. 3.5 months from the election, he decides not to run. The sitting vice president then takes the mantle, running against a former president of the United States who had been running for 10 years with 107 days until the election. And by the way, another piece of what is unprecedented and a bit historical about that race, it is the closest presidential race in the 21st century in terms of the outcome.
Wow. The closest. You know, say that again, because he likes to say over and over again he's got a mandate.
President Trump won all the swing states, and President Trump won the popular vote. Can someone explain to me how was this election close? Listening to these lunatics makes my brain hurt. Everybody knows it was an embarrassment for the Democratic Party.
A lot of people, I'm included, and President Biden also, think that a lot of it is about racism and sexism. And those are the reasons that you really lost, not because of the time thing. What do you say to that? Do you think this country will ever elect a woman president? In my lifetime, probably not.
I beg to differ. I believe that we will. And listen, you know this, and I've been honored to be on this show many times and talk with this esteemed group. Every office I've held, I've been the first. Usually the first woman, and then often the first woman and the first person of color. The only time actually I was the second when I was the second black woman ever elected to the United States Senate in its hundreds of years history. So I'm not naive. Race and gender do play a factor in some people's minds about how they vote. But my history tells me, because I have been the first in all of those, that people ultimately want to know that this is the best person to do the job, and that's their focus, and that's how I've always run. I've never run as a woman or as a person of
I know, but
color.
you and Hillary
I have run
Clinton-
because I believe I'm the best to do the job.
Hold on, let me go.
She said she believed she was the best person for the job. Is this comedy? Is this comedy? You know, it bothers me because these people, they have influence on our new generation. So that's why us as conservatives, we have to pay attention to them and call out their nonsense. In 2019, when Kamala Harris launched her presidential campaign during the Democratic primary, she did so bad. Guys, she did so horrible. She had to drop out before one person was able to vote for her. That being said, Kamala Harris got to a presidential general election in this country without one person ever having to vote for her. Now, talk to me about democracy. Talk to me about the Constitution. Oh my God.
Madam Vice President, before the election, 2/3 of Americans felt that the country was on the wrong track, according to an NBC poll. On issues like the border, cost of living, the perception of crime, 43% of Americans felt like Joe Biden's policies had personally hurt them. Understanding that many people saw you as an extension of Joe Biden, were there glaring warning signs that when there's only two options to vote on, that you missed going into Election Day?
You know, I write about it, as you all know, in the book, and I know that's probably the first chapter you read, is my chapter on The View. But it really, the book is about a reflection. And that day in that interview, for me, really was symbolic of the issue. It did not create the issue, but it was symbolic of the issue, which is that I'm a loyal person.
Yes, indeed, we believe you are a loyal person, but loyal to who? She's a loyal person to President Biden. She is not loyal to the United States of America. She's loyal to Biden. That's why she allowed Biden to stay in office for 4 years, even though she saw it daily. Biden was not physically nor mentally fit to lead this country. She kept it quiet. She never said a word to the American people. She put this country in danger because she wanted to be loyal to President Biden. Now, guess what, Madam Vice President? This decision, it has a cost. Now, the American people got to see the truth. That's why they will never trust you again. That's why you will never serve in office again. That's why you have no credibility.
I didn't want to offer a difference in a way that would be received or suggested to be a criticism.
You say everything about my appearance on The View was going well until it wasn't. And if you recall, you were here 28 days before the election. And I asked you if there was anything you would have done differently than President Biden during the past 4 years. And you said, quote, "There is not a thing that comes to mind."
Yeah.
That's exactly what she said, and the American people heard it and said, no, thank you. The American people heard when she said, you know what, I would not do anything differently. That means the 4 years where the border was left unprotected, the 4 years where they were spending billions of dollars in criminal migrants, the 4 years when they were not tough on crimes, the 4 years when inflation was skyrocketing. She told the American people, if you thought those 4 years were bad, wait when I get in office for another 4 years. And the American people said, no, thank you. The American people said,
You're fired. Get out of here. You're fired.
You write you had no idea you just pulled the pin on a hand grenade. In the moment, I knew. Mm-hmm. The Trump campaign weaponized your answer against you, my question. And some, including James Carville and Jake Tapper, point to that answer as a turning point in your candidacy. Do you think that moment tipped the election?
No. No.
Good, because Sonny doesn't want to take the blame.
That moment ended the election.
I do believe one of the biggest deciders of the outcome of that election was that the American people were sick of things being so expensive.
Yes.
and wanted that the prices would come down. And that's where, this is part of why I wrote the book, which is let's remember in those 107 days what Donald Trump was talking about. Yeah. First of all, he said his number one priority and the number one thing he would do is bring down costs.
Yeah.
That's what he said. And I believe there are a lot of people who voted for him believing that that's what he would do. Fast forward to today.
Yeah. Hello.
Prices are higher, the cost of food is higher, inflation is higher, unemployment is higher. He lied.
She's lying right now. If you watch during Kamala Harris and Biden around 2022, the inflation was so high. It was the highest it has ever been in 40 years, skyrocketing. She's lying out of her.
Yeah. He lied. Meanwhile, there are certain promises he did keep, which is he was going to weaponize the Department of Justice and go after his political enemies, that he was going to silence critics against him, that he was going to fulfill whatever his fragile ego needed through the tool of our federal government.
I always say here, guys, everything you see the Democrats accuse President Trump of doing, best believe they are guilty of those same things. What she's talking about right now, that's exactly what President Biden did. Use the DOJ against his opponent. Biden even used the Department of Justice against his own party, Eric Adams.
And I think it's important as we move forward to realize that they did what they said they were going to do. I heard a story about a friend of mine was telling me about a Cuban American whose partner was being deported to Sudan, and that person was a big Trump supporter, and thought, well, why is this happening? Well, but he said he was only going to go after criminals.
Right. That's what he said.
He lied.
That's not what he said. He said criminals were the priority. However, if you came to this country illegally, you must leave. These people, they can't stop lying, guys. They can't stop lying.
This individual who occupies our White House right now,
The people's house.
has decided that he will be an emperor in his mind who will demonstrate his power by demeaning and belittling and making people feel small. But this is...
And dividing.
But here's the thing. The American people are stronger than that. We are smarter than that. You can see in polling how his popularity is nosediving.
Yeah.
And I do believe that moving forward, we're going to remember that the power ultimately is with the people.
Now, let me show you the hypocrisy, guys. She said, and I quote, "The power is with the people." But wait a minute. The people elected President Trump to do a job. So why is the Democratic Party standing in the way? Why we have all these lawsuits against President Trump? If the power is with the people, before President Trump became president, he said exactly what his plan was for immigration. And the people said, yes, sir, let's get it done. They elected President Trump. If the power is with the people, why are you standing on the way? Are you guys following? Even the idea of her writing a book makes absolutely no sense. She was the vice president. Everybody was telling her, hey, the country is not doing well. The country is heading to the wrong direction. Hey, I don't think President Biden is capable. Hey, I think we need to do things differently. We all saw what was happening, and she just ignored everything. Now she wrote a book to tell us what we were telling her.
Madam Vice President, since Trump has taken office, everything that you warned about has happened. Do you sometimes just want to scream, I told y'all so, and feel free to do it right now? I mean,
Sonny, nothing comes to mind.
Yo, America, we dodge a huge bullet. We dodge a huge bullet. Could you imagine if this woman was the president of this country right now? Could you imagine? Now, I'm not gonna say a woman cannot be president of America. I'm not gonna say that. I'm also not gonna say a woman can be president. But here's what I will say. If one day a woman will become president of this country, it's not Kamala Harris. It's not Hillary Clinton. It's definitely not AOC. And it's most definitely not Jasmine Ratchet Crockett.
So I do want to ask you, because you've not held back your criticisms of President Trump today. Do you think that there's anything he's done right since coming back into office?
Does anything come to mind?
You know, nothing comes to mind.
Nothing comes to mind. Not even how Trump was able to secure the border in less than 100 days. Nothing comes to mind.
You were one of the first people that stood up to Trump. And I remember watching you in that debate, the only debate he would have with
Yeah,
you.
I wanted more.
And you wiped the floor with him.
I wanted more, she said. I think she probably said that to Mr. Willie Brown too. Anyway, we keep on going.
That's why he didn't want more. So is that the strategy for Democrats going forward, fighting back more in the mode of Trump, going into the gutter? What is the strategy for Democrats fighting forward?
I think there's some work to be done, which includes one of the things that I think the 24 election made very clear is the American people want their immediate needs met. And, we paid a lot of good attention and time on issues like the infrastructure bill. If we had done it differently, and I think we should have considered doing it differently, we would have instead, in the Build Back Better bill, put the family plan before we did that. We will have the plan for what needs to happen in the long term because those are the most intractable issues, but we need to meet the immediate needs of the people.
So you were vice president for 4 years and you did not know this basic knowledge? Basic knowledge? What is important today? What is important in the next 6 months? We can talk about the 5 years later, but the basic need, the immediate need. So you did not know that. Holy cow.
You got to fight fire with fire.
Mm-hmm.
And
Will you run again?
so
Will you run again?
going
Will you
forward,
run
that's
again?
what-
You like to run again?
that's not in my immediate
Not right.
focus. I'm doing my book tour, and please, everybody,
That's
come
right.
out. I'm going to a lot of cities.
Please let her run again. Please. Matter of fact, let us skip the primary for the Democratic Party. Let's go straight to the general election. Just select Kamala Harris to run again. Please. Please. J.D. Vance would eat her on a platter. Vivek Ramaswamy would eat her on a platter. Please let her run again. The fact that the lunatic left was able to convince 70 millions of people to vote for this incompetent person, this says a lot about how powerful the propaganda machine of the left is. So that's why us conservatives right now, we have to get active. We have to become more organized. We have to speak up and stand up and fight back. We stayed quiet for far too long while the woke liberals have been destroying this country, while the woke liberals have been indoctrinating our children, have been abusing our kids. So now it is time for us conservatives to speak up and stand up for conservative values. God, family, country. Repeat after me. God, family, country. Those are the core values that make America a great nation. And the Democratic Party, they are on a mission to distance Americans from the core values, from God. Look what they are promoting. Look at the culture of Hollywood. So that's why now it is critical. It is imperative. I'm going to keep using that word. I'm telling you. It is imperative for us to say enough is enough. Let us remind people who God is. Let us remind people how important family is. And let us remind people this country is what we have. We have to protect it. We have to take care of it. And we have to also allow only good people to come to this country legally. Anyway, guys, as always, thanks for watching. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think as I continue to create more, but most importantly, better content and call out the nonsense from the lunatic Democrats. Call out the nonsense. Call out the PG-13, PG-13, PG-13. As always, you guys stay safe. May God bless you. And may God bless the United States of America.